Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Profitable Private Practice Podcast. And today I have with me Dr. Prabakar. Hi, Dr. Prabakar, how are you?
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're able to be here today. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and, just get started. Could you give us a 60-second introduction of yourself?
Yes, I'm Dr. Prabakar. I'm a gynecologist and surgeon out here in the Bay Area in California. Um, I live here with my husband and three kids. And after many years in corporate medicine, I set out to start my own private practice about 4 years ago and am thriving and doing well. I love to lift weights at my free time
Mm.
and go swimming with my kids. And yeah, and I love to sleep.
And you left. Me too.
Yes,
Me
yes,
too. That
yes.
is amazing. Okay, so I like to do fun facts once I,
Okay.
start with the interview. So I heard something that, like your last year was absolutely amazing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you took 8 weeks off.
Yes, I did. I did. I wasn't planning on it, but that's how it worked, and it was great.
Wow,
It's
that's
great.
amazing. What did you do in that time?
So, 2 weeks. So some of those were planned, ahead of the year. But I took 2 weeks off in February to go to a wedding in India,
Mhm.
and I stopped by in Dubai on the way there, and I went with my two girls. I have three kids, but my girls are the older ones, so. And it was so amazing. We had such a good time. And then I spent 2 weeks in the summer in the East Coast, where I'm originally from,
Mm.
Connecticut, and we went to Vermont, and it was so much fun. And then I went to two weddings of friends from college and medical school. One was in Philadelphia, and one was in
Wow.
Boston. And I took one of my girls to each of the weddings. So we had like a mom daughter trip, and
Mhm.
we did like some fun sightseeing. And then I went to another wedding in India
Oh,
in
wow.
December with my entire family, and
Mhm.
that was awesome. And then I did some, conferences and maybe three conferences. So when I added all that up, I was like, wow, took 8 weeks off. I only worked 10, 10
Weeks.
months this year.
That's amazing. So you were just enjoying yourself. You were living your
I
best life.
was, I
That is
was, I
awesome.
was.
That is
Yes.
amazing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your practice. Could you tell us about the first moment that you entertained the thought of becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I think after training, I trained in New York, and a lot of doctors after residency went on to join private practices. So I always thought that's what I was going to do.
Mhm.
And I love that idea, owning my own practice, being my own boss, all that. And then when I moved to California, that was the harsh reality was that there were very, very few private practices out here. And
Mhm.
so I just joined, the next best thing, and it was great. And then after about 7, 8 years, I was like, oh, I really, I need some, there's got to be something more to life than this, and more to practicing medicine. And so I was thinking about starting a private practice, but, everybody said, that's crazy. Like, you shouldn't do that. You're not going
Mhm.
to succeed. Private practices are going out of business. And so I kind of tucked it at the back of my mind. And then I joined the EntreMD Business School just to see like what's out there, like what's next,
Mhm.
And then in the process of being there after about a year, it kind of came to me, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it.
That's amazing. So, could you walk us through, like, what were the changes that you had to make in between that time of when you entertained the thought and then when you actually, started putting all of that stuff to work and you had your practice?
Yeah, I mean, I had to really upgrade my mindset into
Mm.
one that, oh, I can actually, do this. Because I've never owned a business before. I didn't know all the formalities that were
Mhm.
involved. I knew how to doctor really well, but as far as all the other pieces, I didn't really know how that was all going to be. But
Yeah.
once I made the decision, I had only about 3 months between my jobs where I just, learned to put it all together. And I knew it was not going to be perfect, and it's still not perfect, but it was enough to just get going. And,
Mhm.
I just improve it year after year.
That's amazing. So I was talking to my mom, and she was telling me that, you've built an amazing brand, you've built an amazing practice. And from what I hear and what I've seen, during my research, it's been very successful. So I know a lot of things that people who start out with private practice have trouble with is marketing or putting themselves out there or getting more patients. So if you don't mind, what are like the top three ways that patients have come to you?
Yeah, the number one way is Google Ads. So Google, Google, Google. That's how patients found me when I first started my practice. Now, remember that I had a full practice, in my previous job, which was
Mhm.
in this area. So people knew me, but when I moved to my own practice and I switched up the model where I don't take insurance,
Mhm.
many of those people didn't follow me. So I would say 95% of those people fell off. And there were some that followed, but the first days were very slow. Starting a new practice and then really figuring out how to get new patients to come in my door. So Google Ads was the first number one way. Number two, I would say patient referrals, because once patients came in the door, then they loved their experience, and then they told their friends and etc. So that was great. And then the third one I would say is physician referrals, where other referring doctors started to send more patients to me. And so yeah, so those are the top three, I would say.
That's amazing. So how did you build that referral base?
A lot of it is just networking. A lot of it is time. Um, and it's going to events, meeting people, hosting events, giving talks. All of those things are how I built that up, and knowing that it takes time. So I'm seeing patients from events that I went to or gave a talk at like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm
Yeah.
seeing them now. So knowing that you just have to do the hard work, and it'll come. The time will
Yeah.
come.
So now if you had to say something to a private practice physician who is trying to, build up their clientele, what would be like the first piece of advice that you would give them?
I would say you really have to be patient, and you have to put the reps in, and not to get discouraged when you don't see the results right away. So you got to keep doing those talks, keep hosting those events, keep going to events, um, and at the end, it'll work out.
It'll work out. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like I've mentioned this multiple times that I was talking to my mom a lot about you. So a lot of my information did come from her. So she was talking about how you've raised your prices. And I know with private practices that can be like an iffy thing that, they don't want clients to fall off because they raise their prices or anything. But you've raised your prices. So how did you raise your prices like confidently and like, you didn't like lose people, quote unquote?
Yeah, I think the hardest part was just setting that first price. And once that happened, I realized that a lot of businesses, not even in medicine, raise their price for, cost of doing business, right? Things get more expensive over time, equipment gets more expensive. And so I thought, well, why would I be any different?
Mhm.
Our malpractice premiums are more expensive, and just everything goes up. And so I just decided, yeah, like that, I should absolutely do that. Now, will I lose patients? I mean, maybe, but I know the value that I'm providing, and I know the pain points that I'm taking care of. And so I just, for me, it's like the right people will come, and just knowing that we're not for everybody, and that's okay. And the right people will show up.
Mm. How did you get to that mindset? I know that mindset of like, I have a lot of value to like offer. How are you able to get to that mindset?
I think it's just a lot of practice and saying to yourself, kind of seeing what you provide, seeing patient outcomes, seeing, when you read those testimonials, you're like, dang, I'm actually good. Like, yeah, like, like I'm doing some cool stuff here, right? And then knowing that, yes, I went to school for a very long time, and I provide something very different than what the market around here does. And so yeah, I'm worth it. So, and just knowing that, and it's only to comfortable prices. Like some people will look at my prices and they're like, you need to raise that. But, I'm not there yet. And it has to feel right. It has to feel
Mhm.
comfortable. And I'm not just trying to, you know, make a crazy amount just by, putting up really, really high prices, but it has to feel, really good in your soul that
Mhm.
you are charging appropriately.
You're
So,
charging
yeah.
appropriately. Okay, we'll take it. And so I know I've from listening to doctors, in the business school and BPM, even just in the world in general, one of the things that they tend to struggle with a lot, like they know it's the most important thing, but they struggle with it a lot, is their team. So could you tell us about, some of the challenges that you've had with your team, some of the wins that you've experienced with them, how, you've been able to build them up to properly, support you in what it is that you do?
Yeah, the team is the most challenging part about running a business and running a private practice. Certainly, that is the most challenging part, and it has been for the last 4 years. But I think when you have a good team, it really makes all the difference. That's part of why I was able to travel for 8 weeks because I knew my team, here had it together. They were going to answer
Mhm.
all the phone calls. They were going to say the right things, do the right things. We were even moving our practice to a different location when I was on vacation,
Oh, wow.
but I was like, okay, yeah, here's the numbers for the movers. They're going to take care of it, right? So it was, having a team is really critical. And I think setting the right expectations is very important. One of the mistakes I made early on is, hired people because I liked their personality or they were warm, they smiled a lot. I knew they were going to be great with patients, but then they lacked a lot of the other skills that I was looking for. And so as time goes on, just learning how to be um, more discerning in
Mhm.
what I wanted and knowing that there are people out there who fit that role became important. And, continuing hiring instead of just taking the next best thing.
Mhm.
So those are kind of techniques that I've I've employed because a good team can make it and a bad team can really break it. So
Mhm.
it's okay that there's trial and error.
So, do you mind sharing like one of your stories with the team? It can be good or bad, whichever one you like.
Um, oh yeah, like so right now, one of the new employees that I hired, she's just been here like 6 weeks. So I didn't even get around to like finding out when her birthday was or anything like that. But tomorrow's her birthday. And so my other employee sent me a text yesterday and said, hey, do you know it's so and so's birthday tomorrow? And I was like, oh man, I better order some food or do something. Um, and this other team member brought in cupcakes and she brought in all these nice drinks that I'm sipping right now. I mean, right? Like, I mean, who drinks like this? This is so fancy. I wouldn't have had the time or even like the bandwidth to do that. But she made it really special for this new team member and she let everybody know and she took the initiative to like bring some cupcakes and so that's just a small example, but it really goes a long way in building team morale. We had another employee who was on the phone for like 3 hours trying to get this last minute surgery authorization for a patient because her insurance messed up. And the patient was so grateful that her surgery did not have to be canceled. And so, yeah, there's just some really, really great stories when we have some good team members.
That is awesome. And so with team as well, I know for like the private practice owner, something that they can fall into, I guess, is thinking that, the people that they hire automatically know whatever it is that they're supposed to do. And I know like my mom will say that, that your team members aren't mind readers. Like they don't know what you're thinking. Like you have to vision cast. So how was that experience with, building your team and like making sure that you properly vision casted and you didn't just, like expect them to do everything without actually telling them what to do?
Yeah, so we have regular team meetings. Before we used to just kind of ad hoc, like have a meeting here and there. Now I'm like, okay, we can put in the calendar. It's going to be 30 minutes every single week where everyone can kind of come together and talk about our vision for the practice and any issues that people are, experiencing. And then holding people accountable for, what they said that they were going to do or what they were hired to do.
Mhm.
Sometimes confrontation can be difficult, and so it's easy just to kind of slip it under the rug and say, whatever, I'll just, unless something really bad happens, I'm not going to, like, bring anything up. Um, but it takes a lot of, like, guts and growing up to be able to have those conversations. But it is
Mm.
possible, and I think over time, I'm getting to do that.
Yeah, to do that. That is awesome. I work with some people around me and I've had to learn that like the hard way. And I had this one meeting with them and it was like where we sat down and we talked to each other and like, okay, here are some things that you need to work on. Here are some things that you're doing. And so everybody on my team was like, you always expect us to know everything and you never say anything. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
So yeah, it was definitely something that, I even had to work on. I'm not a physician, so I think it's a thing
Yes,
all the
yes,
way
yes.
around.
And then now we also have standard operating procedures where we write down everything that how
Mm,
to do things and what's expected of certain tasks. So nobody's like, oh, I don't know how to do it, or I'm not sure. Okay, it's written down. So
mm,
yeah, that helps.
that's amazing. I will take that into consideration. That'll be my
Yes.
next thing that I'm doing. And so you have been in the business school for a long time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but has it's four is it 4 or more years?
I think I'm like in my fifth year now.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you've
know.
been here for a long
I
time.
know. I know.
So
I'm almost a lifer. Yeah.
Oh, so why are you still in the school? Like not in a bad way, but like if you've been in the school for 5 years, and that means there's something in the school that makes you want to stay.
Because the truth is, I love Dr. Uda. I mean, that is why I'm in the business school. Um, no, seriously, because I feel like at this point, yeah, I have learned a lot of skills. I think could I always improve and get better and all of that? Yes. But I think she designed it really as a 1 year curriculum. So many doctors come, they stay for the year, they leave. Some people stay for maybe two, but yeah, there's a handful of us who've just kind of stayed. And I
Mhm.
asked myself that question too. I'm like, really, am I going to renew again? It's going to be my sixth year, but I really, really look up to her as a leader and as somebody who's constantly kind of reinventing herself. I
Mm,
would say. So she's not the same Dr. Una that I met, when I started the business school. And
mhm.
so she brings new ways of thinking, new ways of doing. So, yes, even though a lot of the things that she teaches, I've definitely heard multiple times before, there's still something I'm always picking up. And so, um, I'm not really following the school per se anymore. I'm really following the leader. And so that's really why I stay.
Mm. Okay. So inside of the business school, what has been like the biggest win that you've experienced other than the 8 weeks? Other than the 8 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I had my highest revenue goal last year. So I definitely, that was huge. And year over year, I've had increasing revenue. So that's been awesome. And then I've just gained skills that pour into the rest of my life. I think that's really the biggest win too, is, and how I deal with my team or even raise my kids and delegate and all of the other things, not just in my business but in my life. So I would say
Mhm.
that's my biggest win.
That's your biggest win. That
Mhm.
is amazing. Okay, so now if you could say anything to a struggling private practice doc, what would you tell
um so I would say that I would acknowledge that it's really hard out there to run a practice. It's hard work, and there's really no substitute for that hard work. Um but I do see that private practice has a great place in medicine today and in the future, especially with AI and everything. I really think people will want to go in and see a live doctor and have those conversations. So I really believe that private practice is going to thrive in the future. So it's there. You just need to find the right kind of container, the right skill set, the right people to mentor you. And so those are all the things that, I found in the EntreMD Business School. So yes, it's really hard. I'm not going to say no. It continues to be hard, but it's it's more fun and possible when you surround yourself with like-minded people.
Like-minded people. And then so on that note, if you feel like, EntreMD may be a good fit for you, or if you feel like, I want to follow Dr. Una, but I don't know about EntreMD Business School, there are, multiple things that EntreMD has. EntreMD's purpose is to serve you no matter what. So you can go to entremd.com/success so that you can book a call. And in that, you'll be able to talk to the team so that the team can help you figure out what your next best step, will be in the future. And then, so lastly, I have actually two more questions, but I know Dr. Una talks a lot about having the dream business and the dream life. And I know we went over kind of the dream life just a little bit with how much you've traveled and you were able to go with your kids as well. But in what other ways have you, been able to experience that?
So I'm able to take care of myself. So for example, I start my days at 9, which may seem pretty normal for most people. But when I was working my previous job, I started a little bit early. I also got out early. But now I start at 9 and I make sure I get my workout in the morning. I get my quiet time, my prayers, all of that in before I even start the day. And I make time to like take care of myself in my health. Like this afternoon, I have an appointment for my with my eye doctor to get my new contacts. So I don't really fall into that like, oh, I'm a busy doctor. I don't ever get to go do anything, right? I just don't buy that. And I don't practice that way. So I take care of my health. I make sure I can go to all my kids' events, the important ones anyway. I have 3 kids, and so they have like a million events, so I can't go to all of them. But the things that really matter, I'm there. All their parent teacher meetings. I can even like chaperone some of their field trips, which is really fun. And then, yeah, really just be able to change my schedule around when I need it for those things, that really are important to me. One of the things I shared with the EntreMD community is last year, one of my best friends passed away suddenly across the country. And his funeral was like in the middle of the week. And there's, in a traditional job, I would have had like to move 80 patients. But in my practice, I was able to move patients around, be flexible with the timing and make it out. So
Mm,
it's not just for like happy things, but it's also for important and sometimes sad things that I'm able to really be there for the people who matter.
that's amazing. That is
You know?
beautiful. You're definitely living that dream business, dream life. That is awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so now if anyone, wants to get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Yes, so they can find me on social media. I am the Fibroid Doc. So the Fibroid Doc on Instagram.
Mhm. Okay. So
Yes.
anywhere, website?
Yeah, there's also my practice website, lamorindagyn.com. You can reach me on the contact page there, or you can send me a DM on the Fibroid Doc.
Alrighty. So to everybody watching, thank you so much for watching. And as always, do not allow this podcast to be your best kept secret. So if there was something that you heard in this episode that you believe will help another private practice doc, please do not hesitate to share this episode with them. And thank you so much, Dr. Prabakar. This was an amazing episode, and I'm so glad that you were able to come on.
Thank you for having me, Tisha. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And to everybody watching, bye, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.